Think we'd be here in the closet, right in the heart of California. How are you? It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you, and a good Friday to you. It's not the Good Friday. It's a Good Friday. And after a couple of days where I've been kind of not feeling so well, uh, we're back doing a couple of shows. Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez will join us in a sec. We're going to talk about the news. We had a lot of stuff to talk about just to catch up. But all of a sudden, this happens. News gets dumped on Friday. The bad news gets dumped on Friday because in the thinking before a 24-hour news cycle, they figured, well, it'll be covered on Saturday and the bad news won't reach as many people. That's why news gets dumped on Friday. But in a 24-hour news cycle, minute by minute, everyone is listening. Everyone is wondering what the heck's going on. So we've got a bunch of news stories today to talk about. The Moscow thing, a massacre. Is it what it appears? We got to trust the Kremlin. Does that mean we can trust them at all? So that's kind of a big deal. And then we have the shocking news of the royals. If you made fun of Princess Kate's photographs and got into the whole doctoring of the photograph thing, I hope you feel really small. I hope you feel really, really small now. I mean, but this is the thing. When you're a royal, everything gets magnified, although it's a pretty big deal, the announcement she made about her having cancer. She didn't specify what kind, only that it was revealed after a surgery, a stomach surgery. It could be anything. They open you up, they find everything. So we'll talk about that with Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez. Because as he will mention, I know he will mention, he did have a minor in international relations. What does it all mean? All these stories. Then, of course, we will talk about Donald Trump trying to get his monies together so that he can get out of a seizure that, who knows? Are they going to seize some of his property? He might have some money on paper now that he's merged his Trump media. I don't know if it's as much as Emil Guillermo media, but he says he's worth $3 billion. Would be able to help him. All right, so there's that issue. And then there's a whole issue about Congress. Congress is imploding. They passed the bill to extend the government so the government doesn't close down. The Republicans are mad. Marjorie Taylor Greene makes an announcement that she is going to do this stunt and try to get Speaker Johnson kicked out. That wouldn't be a bad deal if it was a responsible move. It's not really a responsible move. They're going off to recess, so it's more stunt or more ploy than not. But it just makes you sad that these are the leaders of the leading democracy of our world, and we can't seem to get it right. So we'll talk about the Marjorie Taylor Greene move, fiasco. More fiasco to come, but it just shows that, boy, when it comes to governing, even the United States doesn't have it quite right because we can't seem to come together and understand that, hey, we can disagree. We can have Republicans voting for Democrats and vice versa. That's the way it's supposed to be. We're on the same team, right? It's not scorch earth 24/7, 100% of the time, but that's the way politics is being played now. So anyway, all right, so before we get into the meat, that's the meat. We're going to talk about that. And then also I want to talk about this thing that I missed on March 19th, which happens to be my mom's birthday. So, I can't forget March 19th. It's my mom's birthday. It also happens to be the anniversary of the spa killing deaths, the spa shootings in Atlanta. They claimed the lives of 6 Asian American women. So 3 years now. And I remembered my mother's day, my mother's birthday, of course. I was in LA doing a show. So that I had a kind of reason to not remember the big day of the shootings. Although the White House and Kamala Harris remembered it and made a statement. It's an important day. I feel bad that I didn't make a bigger deal of it because we can't forget it. We can't forget a day like that. And so I'll bring up Professor Daniel Phil to talk about that. But first, before we get to that, don't forget my Fringe Festival show, New York City Fringe Festival, April 3rd, April 5th, 8th, 13th, 18th, or rather 19th and 21st at Under St. Mark's Theater in New York City. I'm going to the New York City Fringe. They're having it and of all times, they're having it in April. I think they thought, well, we call it the Frigid Fringe because it was in February and March, but now it's in April. So it's kind of like a springtime fringe. It's April 5th, 8th, 13th, 19th, and 21st. Under St. Mark's, Emil, Amok, lost NPR host. Just go to frigid.nyc, and there it is. See, Emil Amok, lost NPR host. Wiley Filipino. I explained that. Vegan trans. I explained that. Emil, you can't just dump vegan trans dad on people and expect that, hey, people are going to wonder, what's he mean? Vegan trans dad? Is that why you're wearing yellow, Emil? Is that why you're broadcasting or microcasting or whatever it is you call this from a closet? Well, I explain it in my one-man show. Emil Amok, lost NPR host, Wiley Filipino, vegan trans dad, coming to New York City at Under St. Mark's Theater, April 5th, 8th, 13th, 19th, and 21st, all different times, because we just want to play with it that way. I mean, one time it's at 5 o'clock, one time it's 9:30. Just go to the website, frigid.nyc, catch it. You'll like it. It's funny. I changed things, added new stories. I front load the laughs. That means we get to the pain a lot quicker. Oh, yeah. It's that kind of show. It's that kind of show. Emil Amok, lost NPR host, Wiley Filipino, vegan trans ed, coming April 5th, 8th, 13th, 19th, 21st, Under St. Mark's Theater, the New York City Fringe. Go to frigid, frigid.nyc. Get tickets there. All right. So I want to talk about, before I get to the meat of the stories that are making news today and people will be talking about throughout the weekend, I want to talk about the event, March 19th, 2020. We're talking now about something that happened that shouldn't be forgotten. And darn it, I did. I forgot about it. Well, I had a good excuse. I was like in LA, and my mom was, it was her birthday, right? So I'll never forget March 19th. And so now we're talking about Robert Aaron Long, the shooter, and we're talking about after it all happened, what's it mean? Let me bring up Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University, Asian American Studies Professor Emeritus. Hi, Dan.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
Hey, welcome to the show.
My mic, so I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. All right. So, because of my travel schedule, it was all kind of messed up there in terms of, these dates and whatnot. But the occasion of the spa killings, the anniversary, that's a big deal. We shouldn't forget that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So why,
absolutely true.
why do people kind of forget that the spa killings, number one, happened?
Well, it depends on who you think forgot.
Yeah.
I think it's a much more serious matter if we say that Asian American population forgot.
Yeah.
That it went without notice and even some level of commemoration.
Yeah. I,
But if we're talking about the general population, it's
mm,
easy to understand
yeah,
why it's
that's true.
forgotten. And it's because mass shootings, number one, happen so frequently
Hmm.
that it's no longer seen as extraordinary.
Right,
It's somewhere between ordinary and let's say just a noticeable, you know.
right.
And then Asians in America get at best tertiary consideration when it comes to major acts of violence. The media generally has tried to de-racialize acts
Hmm.
of violence,
Yeah.
and that started almost 2 generations ago.
Yeah, I
When
always felt bad about that. It's almost like to be more objective, they didn't want to mention any race.
exactly, they don't want to mention race. It's like somebody causes a massive car jam and that results in deaths,
Mm.
and they don't want to tell you what the brand of the car was.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a
too much,
car guy, so I always want to know what the
yeah.
brand of the car was,
It's
and
almost
I'm
like,
also
yeah.
into analyzing acts of violence, even though I don't have a psychology background. My argument is always that. My major was political international relations. By the way, it wasn't a minor; it was a
Oh,
major, and
sorry, sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
and I was a double major. The other part of that was poli sci. But anyway, as a result of the political science background and the mass killings uh, increasing
Hmm.
in the 70s, um, I got interested in trying to connect what kind of weapons people were using, and then of course it moved from the use of Uzi in the defense of Ronald Reagan
Hmm.
when he was attacked and shot and almost
Yeah,
killed. I mean,
yeah.
we didn't really get the full information on how close it was. But anyway, I don't want to stray too far from the major
Please,
issue.
please don't.
Right.
Please don't. So,
Yeah, because the Asian Americans,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it is up to us, really,
yeah.
okay, to put that in front of the general public. It's
All right.
also
So tell me, do you think we did this time? Do you think? I mean, it's 4 years after. Do you think we did?
I don't think we did. I've been, you know, I'll be honest with you. I thought of it, but I didn't think to choose our own ethnic news sources to
Think
see if people
Filipino,
noticed it. As a
Filipino or
discussion.
Asian American?
I didn't find anything. Did you?
Yeah. No, I didn't. I saw. Well, I saw the White House put out some statements. They had uh, Becerra. They had some. Secretary Becerra put out a statement, and then later on they had Kamala Harris put out a statement. For the White House Asian Pacific American Group, and that was all. I saw that over the weekend, and then I was like not feeling well, and I was gone on the 19th. And it's natural for me to remember the 19th. That's my mom's birthday, but I just totally forgot and made the connection about, well, yeah, it wasn't just my mom and her birthday. It was like 6 Asian American women who were gunned down in Atlanta. So I just I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling guilty now, but I think we should never forget this again. It's been 4 years, April 19th, 2020, and you remember what happened that day. It was almost, or
Oh
the
yeah.
aftermath of that day is like people like suddenly they realized they didn't know enough about Asian Americans.
Well, do you recall also that a couple of the police agencies said that they were uncertain that race was a factor?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
And
the
they
whole
do that constantly. They said the same thing about the schoolhouse shootings in Stockton in
yeah,
'89
yeah. I mean,
for 3 days. Yeah.
the whole process was frustrating. It was like, hey, oh, we gotta pay attention to Asian Americans. Like Asian Americans matter, they count. And I've spent most of my career in the ethnic media after some time in the mainstream, but talking about Asian American ethnic oriented stories, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so I feel bad that this was probably as big a deal in Asian American history as anything else that's come down the pike in, say, what, quarter century. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I've
I
been
mean,
called back to the campus every once in a while to talk, and when I make references to mass murders of Asians,
yeah,
and I talk about the 89 Stockton schoolhouse, most of the students are completely unfamiliar with it,
yeah,
and that was a massive event.
yeah.
Um, so the Atlanta shootings are fresher in their minds. This happened if they're college students now, while they were in high school,
Yeah.
and so they were at least exposed to the facts.
But
And
isn't it funny, Dan, how they all have kind of short, they have short lives. I mean, short shelf lives in terms of, where it takes up our mental capacity.
well, there's all kinds of explanations for that, and much of it lies with social media
Yeah.
and the compression, right, of information to fit on phones.
Oh, that's right.
It's worse than hit. Remember when we started complaining about USA,
USA
and how
Today.
it was headlines only. There was not enough detailed information offered, and that was
Yeah.
our complaint when USA first came out. Well,
Yeah. I
what
mean,
is it like today?
well, but Dan, now it's like people have taken the USA Today concept and brought it to a graduate school level, calling it some kind of informed brevity or something, like Axios, right? That's their whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll give you the meat of the news, and you're going to get the crack of the news in like less than 1,000 words, and that's it. You don't,
Yep.
you know, it's like a virtue to be like short
Yeah.
and
The the
succinct.
the only, I would say, 10 to 20% of my students, when we discuss how they're informed and we talk about social media and everything else, only
Yeah.
about 10 to 20% of them say, "Well, that's what I use for to find out what's happening and then get an idea of what might interest me, and then I follow up by
There you
looking
go.
at other sources." Okay, but only about 10% to 20% of the students actually do that.
Yeah.
I conduct that exercise early in the semester,
Mhm.
so that I don't bias, right, the outcome,
Mhm.
and I don't telegraph something because they figure that stuff out really quickly and they give you what you want to know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're much more candid, right,
I
at
see.
the beginning of the semester. But that's the kind of result that I get.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I was thinking about, all right, about the spa shootings again. It was a major thing that happened, put us back on the map. People saw us. People realized how little they knew about Asian Americans, and the number of guilt laden pieces about, oh, these are the Asian Americans. This is what you didn't know about. There was a ton of them after the shootings because there was a feeling collectively that, oh my God, how we neglected this whole group, and and how do we not know what makes up Asian Americans? How do we not know Asians were in the South to such a degree? I think that was the big surprise. Oh,
Yes,
there
it
were
was. Yeah,
Asians in the South. Oh my God,
yeah.
how did that
No,
happen?
and that that mass migration, or
Yeah,
actually remigration,
right.
in sociology and in political science, everybody was questioning what's happening. We're putting the Vietnamese and the Laos and the Cambodians in like Wisconsin and Michigan,
Yeah,
and they remigrate. Within 2 years, they're locating to the coasts, and particularly to the south coast, and some to the east coast, but heavily to the west coast. And
yeah. Like
I would
you
ask my
can't
students,
fool them.
"What?"
You can't
Yeah,
fool them with the lake in
yeah.
Minnesota. They want
Yeah, yeah. These are
they
people
want
that are accustomed to zero, to
yeah,
0 Fahrenheit.
yeah.
It's really
The Hmong the
stupid
Hmong
question. And there were studies done on this, man. People were getting paid to
yeah.
determine why people were remigrating, and it was like nobody asked us. They just hired a bunch of white people to go and do this freaking study. You know,
Well, the thing
It's
is,
serious. I'm serious. I hate to racialize it, but the reality is that it's just like funding. It's like funding documentaries, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's really difficult to get documentaries funded because the funders don't want to be associated with negative aspects of whatever you find and whatever you present, and so they're only going to fund stuff that makes things look good and shiny, right? Really good, and that's problematic. So only people like Ken Burns, right? Who establishes a track record like that, they get they get regular funding. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever he would ask for, he would get. You know,
Or you
but
self fund, or you just do your own thing, but then you don't reach as many people.
that's right. Yeah,
But all right, so after the spa shootings, people discovered Asian Americans in a whole new context, not in the
yeah,
1890s
but
context.
it was not without negative issue. Okay,
What was the biggest negative?
because the people, the victims, were associated with massage parlors.
Oh, right, right.
Okay,
Well,
and
well,
so
but this is the thing. Was it recreational massage or therapeutic massage?
yeah, yeah, sure,
And I don't try to say it's a bad thing what these women were doing, but it's not all X-rated massage, right?
that's right, that's
I
right.
mean, I've never been to these places, but when I see them pop up, I say, "Well, thank goodness someone's getting their muscles rubbed in the right way." And it's not necessarily X-rated. Like I said, it could be perfectly PG massage.
Right,
We hope.
we hope, but
Yeah.
there's a definite moralistic, moralistically negative connotation.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
much of the Asian American communities are embarrassed
Mhm.
by the circumstance itself. Okay,
Right. Right.
so if it was a postal worker situation, and a lot of Asians, working for the post office, right? It could then they would say, okay, yeah, that's really terrible, and all the rest of that stuff. It was if it was Valley Transit, like down in San Jose,
Uh,
right, and people of color, including Asians, get killed.
yep.
Yeah, we
Hey,
understand that.
hey,
But
you
when it's
just
massage
mentioned.
parlors, hey,
Look, you just mentioned another shooting that I'm sure a lot of people have already forgotten. The Valley Transit
yep,
situation.
yep,
I mean, we have so many mass shootings, but this was a mass shooting in the Atlanta spa shootings, two locations, Cherokee County, Fulton County,
right,
in Georgia, that we had to stop and think about it and what it meant to Asian Americans, what it meant to America. And so I think it's got to have a lingering effect because throughout Asian American history, when there has been discrimination against Asians, there's also been violence. There's also
right,
been shooting,
exactly,
massacres. This is
exactly.
this is the 21st century version.
I
So,
was expecting an increase in violence against Asians when I guess it was 60 Minutes did a segment
on the
on
southern border,
Chinese coming across the southern border. That's right. And that was what, about a month ago.
yeah,
And so people are going to be looking at Asians now as illegals, as quote illegals. And
yeah,
and when you use the term illegal, it's intended to excuse whatever kind of actions, whether they be political, legal, social, or even violence, right?
right,
It sort of says, well, okay, we understand why these people are being, there's violence being committed against these people because they're illegal,
yeah,
okay? And when President Biden used the word illegal, in his address, that was terrible.
right. I
That was a
was actually
major
shocked
error.
by that. I was shocked by, but
Yeah, me
it,
too.
it was an error. But I think overall, I mean, he made a couple of other boo boos in terms of names and things, little gaffes. But I think in general, I think I gave him I did not ding him for that as much as
Oh,
maybe I
I
should.
dinged him for it, but I mean, overall, it was
It
what
was good.
needed to be done.
It was a good speech in general. I mean,
Yeah, it was.
he did say the word illegal, and I thought, oh,
Yeah, I was laughing at the reactions from the Republicans. Right,
yeah,
he was too loud, and too political.
yeah.
It
Well, well,
was overly partisan.
yeah.
And
Well, Dan. So let's finish up on Fulton County and
yeah,
Robert Aaron Long because throughout the whole Trump trial situation and Fonnie Willis's problems, Fonnie Willis is trying to prosecute, to bring the death penalty to Robert Aaron Long, who already has the death penalty on 4 Asian Americans
yeah,
that
yeah.
he shot in Cherokee County. Um, at this point, should he be held accountable for the other two? And I mean, given the other things that are at stake at Fonnie Willis's office, and I mean, I could see this case sort of dragging on. Um, I mean, it's nice if you can get it, but Robert Aaron Long is going to be he's going to be away for a long time. Do we have to go for the death penalty?
Yeah, I don't know if the change in county opens up a greater possibility of the
Well,
death penalty.
it's
But
no, he
but
can. He can. Yeah, he can get. He got life,
yeah,
life
he got
sentence
four
on
life
parole in
sentences. Yeah, he got
Cherokee.
4 life sentences. Yeah,
Yeah, but now for the other two deaths, Fonnie Willis says she's going to go after him, or she did say she was going to go after him
for the
for
death penalty.
the death penalty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was unaware of that. I
yeah.
appreciate your informing me that she's taken a
Well,
position on that.
it's just in the meantime, the defense lawyers have done all this maneuvering to say that all these motions to try to circumvent that, and of course, Fonnie Willis and her folks have been busy with all these other major major cases in Fulton County.
Yeah,
Is it? I mean, and even the news this time around this year, like within the last few weeks, say it's unclear if Robert Aaron Long is going to face a death penalty
right.
in trial. So we're kind of in a limbo, which I suppose is, I mean, the guys behind bars, he's being punished. At this point, is it just symbolic? Is it even necessary to go forward or go for more?
Well, I think it has to be established that he did the acts and that he should be sentenced for them.
Mm.
It's as simple as that. I think the process is the process, and that justice has to be done for the two additional lives. It's as simple as that. But whether or not the death penalty is acquired, by a jury, I think it really doesn't matter that much to me. I morally, I've always been against the death penalty
Yeah.
because if it's wrong for people to take a life under whatever circumstances, right, and we
Mm.
punish that as a crime, then morally it's also wrong for the state to take a life.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons that in California, for example, in the 70s, just before the first Brown administration, Jerry Brown, um, in the 70s, right, the issue of death penalty came up, and at the time, there was in fact increasing crime, and then the crime rate started to go down, violent crime particularly. But the Republicans, the conservatives in California, went ahead with three strikes. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I
And
remember
they
the.
proposed three strikes at a time when the crime rate was going down and policing was becoming more effective. Um, One of the reasons the crime rate was up was because of the lack of police hiring. And one of the reasons that police hiring was slow, even though there was federal money available to assist cities and counties in hiring more police, was organizations like San Francisco's Original Police Officers Association,
Yeah.
POA, was suing because they felt that affirmative action programs that were aiming at hiring more minorities and women were dismissing the hiring and also the promotion, especially the promotion of otherwise qualified white officers. So
Okay. All
they
right. So
hung that up. I mean, they wasted time for at least 3 years.
okay, but let's go back to the initial point about the death penalty because I think you raise a big point. Morally, the state shouldn't take a life.
Yep,
Morally,
yep,
it's wrong. And I sometimes in my advocacy for Asian Americans, I forget. When because you get adamant and you get passionate about seeking justice,
right.
but sometimes the death penalty isn't the answer.
Yeah, people confuse vengeance, with justice.
Yeah.
And in cases like this, there's also is always right, an
Yeah.
emotional element, and makes us lean towards vengeance
Yeah.
rather than justice.
Dan, I have to thank you for clarifying that for me because I, as I was just sort of like going through some notes here for this segment talking about Robert Aaron Long and should he get the death penalty or not, I just got lost in my Asian American advocacy thinking, yeah, go. No, you can't go get him. He's already serving life imprisonment without parole for four. He should get sentenced for these others. Death penalty really is a kind of embellishment. Well, some people say, hey, but that's the right thing. But no, the state may not, shouldn't take a life also. That,
That's another hypocrisy of the right to lifers, right?
yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You know,
They'll save the life, but take the
yeah.
sentence.
At the point of uh, contact between spermatozoa and the
Yeah.
ovum,
It has to
right?
do with,
That's the human being right there, and it
yeah.
has rights right there. Okay,
Are
but
there,
then on the other hand,
yeah.
when you have a full-grown adult that perpetrates a heinous crime, right?
Yeah.
You can take that life.
Yeah. And not related to my sperm or egg, you know, not a related zygote.
Wait, you have both of those?
Yeah.
What? Okay, we've been waiting. We've been waiting for that moment in the human condition
Yeah.
for the
So,
possibility of self-procreation.
that's what happens, when
I don't. Yeah, just
self procreation.
I don't want to get into the physics of it, but
That's just called efficiency, Dan.
let's
That's just
move
called
along. Yeah,
efficiency. Okay, all right. So look,
yeah.
all right.
There
So
are worms that can do that, but anyway.
we're never going to forget April 19th again in the context
No,
of
man, I'm actually gonna mark it. Uh,
April 19th. I'll never forget it because it's my mom's birthday. How can I forget it? And I said, Hail Mary and an Our Father for my mom. She's up there, and she probably was wagging her finger saying, how about those 6 Asian American women? I know they were massage people, but what about them? So I'll
yeah,
never
you
forget.
said April 19th. You meant March, but
Oh, excuse me, March 19th.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
March.
April's on your mind because you got some
Yeah, I got
things
my
to
shows
do.
coming up.
Things
Yeah,
to do in New York.
yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But let's segue into the other big news of the day because while I was taking some time, I was getting sick. This news story broke about the princess and did she doctor a photo and everyone was up in arms, and now people have to feel extraordinarily small now that the truth has come out that she has cancer, and probably the doctoring of the photo was related to that.
I hope they feel small,
Yeah,
but I thought it was stupid in the first place.
it was
Because there was
stupid.
so what? There was minor doctoring in photograph, right?
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
it? What were they doctoring out? One of the kids like picking their nose or
yeah,
making the funny bunny sign over the
yeah,
Dumbo sign over one of the kids. It
yeah,
was nothing serious at all. I
yeah,
mean, all it was an attempt to make it look a little more symmetrical or whatever. I don't even know if she was the one who did it. Could have
yeah,
been somebody else on her staff, but she
yeah,
was forced to fall on her sword and say, "Yeah, it was my fault. I screwed around with the picture."
yeah,
What the hell? And
yeah.
they made it seem as though that they were trading information with freaking Putin or
Yeah,
something.
they're
They were,
doing like secret code
yeah,
signs.
yeah, this is high treason. What
Yeah.
the hell? What the hell
Well,
is that about, man? It was a really stupid reaction, and
it was, and now that the truth's come out that she probably was doing something because she doesn't look as she did before because she's gone through first stages of chemo. They did not go over the details of what kind of cancer, but they said after she had stomach surgery, they
that's actually the
discovered
scary
something.
part because
Could be
abdominal.
anything. Could be
Yeah,
anything.
there's all kinds of stuff down there.
Could be
So
anything. So, well, I mean, but this is sort of at least see like when Princess Diana when she died and it was a shock to people and everyone was just sort of stunned. I remember when that happened. I
oh yeah,
remember when everyone was just sort of like, it's like a fairy tale had just come. Something had happened to a fairy tale in your life, and it was just like people were walking around stunned. And I wasn't necessarily a big Diana fan, but she was part of the culture. And when it happened, I just, caught myself thinking about her, thinking, "Wow, what's happening?" I think now Princess Kate a little different, but she's alive, so maybe there'll be an outpouring of love and support.
Yeah, I'm sure
And
there will be. I
yeah,
mean, people get really emotional about the royals, and
yeah.
it's
And
still
what?
it's still for me, it's kind of laughable. There's a
Yeah,
whole
I
lot
mean,
more serious stuff going on in the
and,
world.
and we will get to that. But when it comes to America, we don't have royals. We have our movie stars. And I was taken today. I was reading through the New York Times, and when I got through the Princess Kate story, Vanessa Friedman, the fashion critic at the New York Times, very, very, very intelligent, fine fashion critic there. She did a story about the naked dressing of Kristen Stewart, which I found fascinating. That's a fascinating story, fascinating subject for naked dressing. And then she showed pictures of Kristen Stewart in various stages of undress. It was fascinating. But see, my point is, in American democracy, movie stars are our royalty, and we care about our movie stars. So when Kristen Stewart is being talked about in this way by a New York Times fashion critic about her naked dressing. It's that's what we have in America. That's what democracy gives. We don't get like the doctoring of the photo of the royals. We have that. I mean, so I'm just trying to point out that celebrities are movie stars. That's our royalty in America. So
Yeah,
I mean, thank goodness if
Miss
something
Miss
happened to
Miss
Harrison
Stewart,
Ford.
Miss Stewart could get away with it. I mean,
Oh, she could. Yeah, she
yeah,
could. Now you look
and
at that article.
yeah.
Her naked dressing is.
Well, what surprised me was that she wore an outfit that where the top was similar to the dress, one of the dresses that that she was being described as wearing well, right? But she
Yeah.
actually wore it on evening, TV. I can't remember which guy. It was. I think it was Kimmel.
Kimmel show. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was a hell of an outfit. I mean, it really actually looked quite attractive on her. It didn't just look raw, sexual.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's not.
Interesting.
It's not sexual so much, but it's just you got a body, you're showing it off. It's not prurient. It's not pornographic.
Yeah,
It's just style. It's
yeah,
style.
yeah.
Style, and that's all it is. Style. All right. So let's move on to the other big story. The other big stories of the day. This massacre in Moscow.
Ooh.
It scares me. It scares me for a couple of reasons. Because number one, we have excuse me, we have to trust Moscow for everything in this. That's what scares me the most. So we don't really know. We know that there were several gunmen bursting into a large concert hall, edge of Moscow on Friday, sprayed visitors, automatic gunfire, killing at least 40, injuring 100. And it comes days after Vladimir Putin, the president, won this mock or this mockery of an election where he has to make it look good by winning by only like 80% or whatever. But no responsibilities claimed for this, no terrorism. Um, but now it's open for interpretation. And all we have is what the Kremlin says. So, my question to you, Mr. International Relations, Professor Dan.
Oh, you're not going to ask me who done it.
Well, no, I'm not going to ask you who done it. I'm asking you, is this a setup for Putin to do whatever he wants as a pretext to do whatever he wants, be it go after Ukraine, be it go after the United States. I mean, he could say
No,
anything.
you're confusing Putin with the behavior of a an infamous Filipino
Oh,
president
perhaps
who
strong.
did in fact in on at least two occasions
Mm,
set up the violent actions that resulted in eventually his being able to declare martial law. In Putin's case, though, he's already got it all.
Yeah.
You know,
So
he's got virtually absolute control of all of this stuff. So who he's going to go after all depends on who they identify as the perpetrators.
mhm.
So if they can label this as Ukrainians, right?
Yeah.
He can,
I don't know
he
if
can,
they can, but that's what I'm saying. That's setting up the
yeah,
pretext to go
yeah.
after Ukraine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it could be.
Yeah. I mean
That's
that's
the
all I'm saying.
external. That's the external factor. I thought you were referring to the possibility of an internal purge.
Oh, nah, he's I don't well, why would they go after you know, concert goers in Moscow? I mean, except to show that Putin is weak and that we need a better strong man. I say
Well, see, they didn't. They didn't. I don't think they shot any of the members of the band.
yeah, the
I think
band
the name of
is
the group was Picnic. I don't
right.
know what
Picnic, which
but
is an old 50s movie, right? 50s or
jeez, I don't know.
50s or
Yeah, yeah,
50s.
that was a pretty good movie, but I don't want to get sidetracked.
Okay, all
Anyway,
right, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
Picnic.
because it introduced a number of issues that have become flashpoints all throughout the rest of American history since then, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
So,
it's
but
like Summer Place. That was another good one.
oh yeah. So I just know that when I heard this happen, I said, "Oh, this sounds like a setup for a pretext to go after X, Y, or Z. Go after Ukraine. Go after maybe it was Chinese. Like you said, we got to see who they want to pin this on.
Yep.
And once they pin it on someone, they'll say, "Ah, look, Russian underground. Well, I guess we're just going to have to tighten the noose a little harder, right?
Yeah. Right.
That
Right.
can happen too." Or
See,
they
I
can
don't
say,
know if Picnic was popular because they had an appeal for a certain age group, sort
"Yeah,
of like the Grateful Dead, right?
mm."
Or if they had Pussy Riot kinds of
Well, that's the
political and
thing.
social criticism.
Yeah, yeah, Pussy Riot, I'd understand, but now maybe they blame. Maybe if Picnic was a rival of Pussy Riot, then
Hmm.
maybe you
Okay.
know, then
Well, I guess this is going to require further research.
yeah, Picnic Russian band.
Yep. Yep.
Um, well, what do they say? Do they have a Wikipedia page? They say, do they?
We've turned to we've turned to wiki, huh? Hee
Well, as a quickie, Picnic Russian is a Russian rock band known for its unique style, which is a mixture of art rock, Roxy music style, progressive rock, and original Russian rock. Formed in 1978 in Leningrad, so they're old
Yeah,
style
78.
rockers, and they are like 70s rockers,
Hmm.
and they probably I would think they would be in league with Pussy Riot to a degree. I would think
It would, yeah. They might even have been a precursor of sorts,
a
right?
pre right a model of Pussy Riot. I've got a friend who's doing he was touring Russia. He's an American with Russian roots and plays rock. He used to play at in Berkeley a lot. Um, and so I'm sure he's this is that kind of progressive rock scene, art rock, Euro rock. So I don't know. So you know what kind of people are there, right?
Hmm.
Probably progressive type people.
Yep.
And this, okay, so now it kind of makes sense if you try to piece it together as
Yep.
we think out loud. They're sending a message to people who, you know, see a free Russia, and this is a reminder that no, this is Putin's Russia. Maybe
Yep. But
that's
it's
my
still,
quickie analysis. My quickie analysis.
yeah. No, I think that's a possibility. That's a strong possibility.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
but
terrible. I mean,
but it'll have the opposite effect. I mean, if they think they're going to be scaring people off, this is just going to increase the level of resistance.
yeah.
And
Well, that's a good point. Good point. That you come on with the iron fist, and let's see what comes back at you.
It happens every time. The question is whether or not there will be enough of a mass, developed, a critical mass, as we like to say, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That it will mean a turning of Putin's attention to internal issues. And he's all, they're stressed out as it is, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're basically turning their 20s and 30s population of men into mercs. I mean, they're trying to attract them with just throwing money at them now because people are leaving. I've seen reports. I don't know how accurate they are,
Mm.
but they're talking about millions of people, men in their 20s and 30s, leaving Russia outright.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
for
yeah. I mean, it's not a place to be, and I can. I don't know. I just was shocked when I saw it. If this was a strategic move by Putin, I think he. I mean, maybe no, maybe someone was trying to. Oh, who knows? We're just guessing here.
it's a whatever it is. It's about as good a move as Hamas. On October 7th. I mean,
No.
what Hamas did is brought all of this tragedy onto Gaza and to Palestinian people, and it's really interesting to see how that's developed. And I'm cheering on the Arab nations, and I'm not a big fan of many of the Arab nations, but
Yeah.
I think in this instance they literally could come to the rescue of this situation. And
Well,
I think that it would be fair to intimidate Israel and their political leadership right now. But Netanyahu, are we going to talk about that? Netanyahu
we should. You
getting an
brought it up.
invitation?
We should brought it up. You did bring it up, and we should talk about it because today, the United States had a proposal on the table that was blocked by Russia and China, a ceasefire call that was blocked
That's
by
right.
Russia and China. So
Completely anticipable.
yeah, well, it's been different. The United States response has been kind of
Yeah,
slow to
this
get
time they're
to.
actually saying ceasefire, release hostages. So they're
Yeah,
just being very plain spoken.
and
And now China and Russia have been drawn out. I think Algeria also
yeah.
vetoed it.
I mean, but whatever the United States wants, China and Russia don't want. I mean, whether to what degree of a ceasefire the United States wants, China and Russia has always been against the United States. I mean that
Oh yeah,
the, the
that's
past the two other proposals, two
it's a
or three other
well-established
proposals.
pattern. A
Yeah.
very well-established pattern, and it
So
was actually one of the reasons that 52 years ago the issue of admitting China to the UN
mm,
was an issue. They said if we admit them to the UN, they're automatically, because of their population, their military strength, they're going to be admitted to the Security Council,
yeah.
and that's going to give them this veto power. And so that was a legitimate argument. So we've been seeing this pattern for 50 years.
Yeah, but it's depressing because if you can't get it through the Security Council, you can't get the UN is rendered ineffective.
Yeah, well,
Where does diplomacy go after the
that's right.
UN fails?
That's right.
Where does it go?
At least in the public eye, it fails, and that's
Yeah,
why a lot of people who don't really want to be bothered with a depth of thinking of global politics, right? They just dismiss the UN, they dismiss NATO,
yeah,
as something that the United States doesn't benefit from.
yeah.
So,
But
uh,
you need NATO. I mean, I think
absolutely,
there's no getting around NATO. You can say, oh, they don't pay their fair share. That's what Trump says. Or you say, oh, what is NATO? And then there's Trump saying, Putin, you can do whatever you want with NATO, which is like, oh,
he
what?
said he would encourage them
Yeah,
to do whatever the hell they want.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
direct quote.
Right. I mean that to me, it confuses it more to the American public, who then says, well, this is what our representative leaders say. They throw up their hands and say, well, why should I care? And that's
There
the
it is.
erosion of a kind of a civic mindedness, of a high level, of an intelligent level, so that we can understand what moves are being made. We're just going downhill.
Yeah, you know, Americans are intellectually lazy. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
the level of reading. You know, remember, I'm a little older than you, but when I remember riding on the bus, right, every day, people would be reading something. The people who were seated, even people who were standing, would be reading something,
Uh,
and for the most part, it was newspaper, and they had this way of folding the newspaper down to column size so that it was,
right. Like this.
roughly, yeah, so
You,
yeah,
you fold it
they
in
would,
like,
yeah, they would eighth it out so that they could read a column at a time. That's right.
yeah.
And this was done out of courtesy, right, for their fellow passengers. So
Because
there's
the
two things
broadsheet,
going on.
the
There's,
broadsheet was too broad.
that's
You had,
right.
out of courtesy, you had to like read it column by column,
That's right.
like
That's right. And
stuff.
and so you see two things going on. People looking for information on a daily habitual basis
Yeah,
in long form, right?
yeah.
And being courteous to their fellow passengers.
No more, no
Others were
more.
reading books. Others were reading books,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
And they were reading books like A Nation of Sheep, The Ugly American, right? Books like that
Oh,
were critical of American domestic and foreign policy, right?
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you're so right. And here's the thing, Dan. When I when I was walking, or when I was, I'm watching your lips move here.
Yeah, it's because my thing is on delay. I don't know
Oh,
why.
I said okay. All right. So I said his lips are moving. I'm not hearing any sound. Oh, no, he's doing an impression of me. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm talking. Hey,
yeah.
now here's the thing: when you go on any public transit now, no newspapers, everyone with a cell phone,
Yep.
and that I think is, yesterday's news that Apple is being accused of
Oh yeah.
monopoly. I mean, and you know, the thing is, the tech world is used to monopolies. They think monopolies are standard. They think, oh, the whole point about a tech business is to monopolize, to dominate. That's natural. See, everyone thinks that, oh, the young tech folks, they're the futures. They're the paragons of how business should be done. No, they're sending business ethics backwards. They're monopolists. They believe in monopolies.
And that was clear. That was clear from the time that Apple made its first couple of computers,
Oh yeah,
and it was clear that they were making their computers on an exclusive architecture. Okay,
right,
and then so you had a difference between IBM, which entered the market for the PCs a little bit later, but they said, nah, we're going to go with open architecture, and you can do whatever the hell you want. And Microsoft jumped on top of that, okay, and understood, well, we could develop software that's much more manageable, that is kindly and all that stuff. But then Apple returned, right, with their version of what would become Windows, right? They had the Apple
right.
system, which was icons, rather than having to type in freaking, trigger words and phrases and stuff like that. And so then Microsoft answers with Windows, right? And
Yeah.
so it's been a competition since then. But
Oh
but
yeah.
that's it, man. That's it. We got the two, and Apple is still right. They control their own architecture. That's
Yeah, but here's the thing. Wouldn't you say that in terms of PCs and Apple laptops, it's easier to share, it's easier to coexist And the domination that the lawsuit that Merrick Garland brought out yesterday is really focused on one product or two, but one product mainly. That's the iPhone.
Yeah, it is iPhone.
iPhone, and then Apple Pay, Apple Wallet,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Apple Watch. You
Yeah,
know,
because
but
it's not just a vertical
yeah.
monopoly; it's vertical and horizontal. That's the whole thing.
But look, I had PCs. I loved PCs, or I was first Apple, right?
Right.
Because I was lured by, but you still got to learn some stuff with Apple. It's not that easy. And
Hmm.
then the compatibility issue drove me to PC, and I've been PC all the way in terms of laptops and computers.
Yeah, you can use it across all kind of formats.
Yeah, but phone, I mean, I hate Android. I was first with Android. Hated when when you had to upgrade from, remember, Blueberry Shortcake to Apple Frosting, whatever name of their operating system. It would always screw up my phones. The only ones who could withstand an upgrade and have the same kind of phone was the Apple system. So I've been with Apple since Apple 3.
Right.
And I
What
and
are
I've
we
never
on now? 14 or 15? What are we?
We're on 15 now.
Yeah,
Apple
that's what I
15.
thought. Yeah.
I'm still with 13. But when Apple 3 came, I said, okay, I'm giving in. I'm giving in to Apple, and they've been better than my Samsungs, phones, phone wise. Certainly, but well, I guess they were a bit. I liked my BlackBerry. Everyone,
Yeah, if they had come out with the bigger screen sooner,
yeah,
it would have been a lot better. But it took them so long, man.
yeah.
That I didn't know what the hell BlackBerry was thinking. And
But everyone loved them for text, for just
yeah,
simple
sure,
messages. It was
yeah. I keep mine plugged in just in case.
just that's funny. All
Most of
right,
the time,
so
well,
I,
I sometimes you don't when you try to transfer over your contacts,
yeah.
it doesn't get everything, and so the BlackBerry's got old contacts on there, but it's better than no contact, right?
Right, right. That's true. Digital technology not infallible, and sometimes you have to plug and unplug and replug, all that. So look, I just think that when we go back to where the world fell apart, it really was when cell phones came in. I mean,
Yep.
you
We
know,
wanted to miniaturize information.
cell phones, in terms of look how people interact. Look at remember how long they tried to get us to carry transistorized televisions, little mini TVs, and
Right,
it never took hold. But now people have their iPhones. They don't mind watching YouTube TV on their iPhones. They don't
right.
mind watching Roku on their iPhones, and or their iPads.
Yeah.
So
Tablets are, very popular for that reason.
yeah. So and that's why I like the Lenovo's, the Yogas, because they're the laptops that you can touch. I like that.
Right.
I like it as opposed to
I
the
I actually that's what I have. I have both. I have an Apple,
yeah,
Apple Mac, but the one that I use the most often is the Lenovo.
yeah,
And I have a Yoga, which
yeah,
is the one that you can use as a tablet
yeah. I
as
got
well.
the
Yeah.
Yoga 9, I think.
And then I also have a Lenovo tablet.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
So yeah, I
they
mean,
work they work really well. That's the whole thing. And whenever you get an upgrade or a change, it transitions smoothly. So
well, I mean, it's still basically a PC system, but they have a better way of updating their own personal stuff. I like Lenovo,
yeah,
and so I haven't, and then the price is always right with PC, right? Because
yep.
Apple keeps jacking up the, and
There you go.
that was the point of Merrick Garland's thing, that the
They're
way,
really, yeah.
yeah, they jack up the prices and people pay, and it's unfair. So I hope, I don't know, I'd like to see Apple just give all its consumers 10 shares. 10 shares of stock.
Yeah, okay.
That's how we'll do it. We'll get stock options. Stock options as reparations.
Yeah, well, you should have been in on Reddit when Reddit opened up, man. You should have been in on that. One day
Uh,
of trading, it was up 48%.
yeah, yeah. I'll have to talk about stocks another time.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not. I'm sort of buy. I'm buy high, sell low. I'm a buy high, sell low guy. So my experience in stock has not been great. All right, so we got a couple more topics to talk about, Dan, and that is, you know, um, Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene pulled a stunt today. It was a stunt. I hate it when now they want to get Mike Johnson, the speaker, out. She is going to. She filed a motion. She won't be able to get it untracked for 2 weeks because the House is uh, on some kind of break. But I think this is a stupid move on the part of Republicans. I think she thinks it's going to consolidate the MAGA right and the MAGA Republicans to show what they're about. But I think it's going to show how they don't really have Americans' best interests in mind. The public good. What happened to the public good?
Listen, they're so arrogant. See, arrogance and stupidity are a really bad combination.
Yeah.
Okay. And so these people are so small that they get their little piece of the action by being elected by a bunch of fools in their home districts, right? Because those people identify with the nastiness of an MTG, right?
Yeah.
And then they do stupid stuff that actually, as I agree with you completely, 1,000%, man. I mean, 10 times over, they do stupid stuff that is most likely to backfire on them.
Well,
They're not
yeah.
even going to. She's not even going to get people of the Republican Party at this point in the Congress. How many months do we have to go before 7, 8 months before the
Yeah.
election, and they're going to pull stunts like this? All it does is further weaken their position, and it almost guarantees that people are going to say, "We don't want your butt back in that seat." We don't
Well,
want.
let's hope. Let's hope. I mean, I think that if I were a Republican, or even if I'm a Democrat, it makes me yearn for a reasonable cloth coat Republican
People who are not nuts.
Like Richard Nixon or Ronald Reagan, or like
Yeah, I mean, as much as I was anti-Reagan, he wasn't completely insane,
yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, it's just when I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene on TV today calling for uh, the speaker's job, I thought, is she crazy? But it's happening, and we'll see if 2 weeks is enough time to sort of cool her out.
No,
But
she's not crazy. She's not crazy, but she is stupid.
she is still. Oh yes, I agree. I
Yeah, she's
agree with
not
that.
she's not crazy, but she is stupid, and she's that stupidity is grounded in arrogance.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people out there, when they see someone fighting for them, you get them, Marjorie. You get them.
That's
They.
it. That's it. That's who they have. That's their so-called base.
Yeah.
You
All
know,
right.
you, they're mean people who want to see mean people in
Yeah.
office do mean things to people they don't like. So
Yeah.
that's what this is all about. So as
Yeah.
long as you can act mean, uh,
Yeah.
the thing that cracks me up is their avatar
Mm.
is this fake macho man.
Oh yeah.
There are people that see the orange man
Mm.
as a real man.
Oh yeah.
You know, and he always reminded me of the loser in the gang that was always trying to impress the real gang boss,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and they were just complete losers. And this guy was completely posturing,
Well,
and in the most comical ways.
well. Now that you've mentioned uh, the gang boss, the mini gang boss,
The
what's gonna
wannabe.
what's gonna happen on Monday? Are they gonna take away? I mean, there's a couple of things.
They're gonna
Number
move on.
one, he merged Trump Media so that he's on paper worth $3 billion. He can't use it to leverage against what he owes, $500 million until like I think 6 months or so, still before the election. But he's got this deadline of Monday. So the question is, he seems to have made a capitalistic maneuver to give him money, but can he um, ward off a seizure on Monday, which it looks like the New York Attorney General is ready to do?
No, he can't ward it off. There's no way. It's a difficult process. It's not an easy thing. Okay, what is established is that he can't pay, so we can go after his assets. But then that process is rather tedious. It's really slow.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
but the important consideration is for me is the demonstration that he ain't got the money. It's
right.
simple, that he's a broke fool, and that people are starting to understand that they went again for the image rather than reality.
Well, this is,
Anybody with common sense, right? Remember when he said he was going to run and he did the golden escalator thing and all that,
yep.
and all of that was posturing. When Linda and I had been in New York, oh, I don't know, a couple of times, 2015, 2018, and I would ask people, being the political science freak, I would ask people on the street, guys, the carriage drivers, right, in Central Park, what do you think? And they would say everybody knows that Trump is a fool. He's a complete idiot, and he doesn't own half the stuff that he talks about. He just has his label on there, and all he does is pay for the rights to put his name on the sucker. Everybody knows that he's a creep, right? But unfortunately, because of his show, The Apprentice, he's got all kinds of, well, how can I say it, right? People
Yes.
who have lack of an imagination.
Well, he's got
Right?
he's it's celebrity, right? It's and it's
Oh,
image, and it's
oh man.
NBCs that enabled him.
Yeah, what's his image? That he's a scam artist, okay, but that's not what the nation saw. What the nation saw was a king playboy, right?
Yeah.
That's what the nation saw. That this guy was a highly successful womanizer, okay, and the proof of that is three marriages. Okay,
And a rape
yeah,
charge.
that's recent. The event was a long time ago, but the conviction was, or the liability, the finding of liability, right,
Yeah.
was uh was recent. But yeah, you're right. But they like all that. Those kinds of people, mean people, see that as proof of his masculinity.
Well, let's hope that on Monday something happens that will solidify people's views of him as a total
No,
loser. And I like to, they're talking about maybe a little chateau or something north of New York City, and maybe the golf course
oh,
will be
that's a
seized.
nice piece. I don't know how the interior looks, but that's a nice piece. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
right next to water. It's elevated. It's developable. But that's a nice piece. But obviously, as all of his acquisitions are overvalued, right? That's
yeah,
another thing. See, I think, yeah, that when it comes to public acknowledgement of the value, that's where he's going to look even creepier, right? Because everything that he was being found liable for, civil fraud, right, is
yeah,
just going to be made plain.
yeah,
you know, yeah.
yeah. Well, the public
The
is
only problem I
deserving,
have with that outcome is that it wasn't a jury trial,
right?
and that it was a judge trial, and that happens when you are being sued when the court functioning as an equitable court. They're looking for equity, so you don't have a jury doing findings of fact. You have a lot more of the judge doing findings of law.
Right.
Okay, and so that's where we end up. It would
Well,
have been a lot better if there was jury exposure to all this, and I'm hoping that in the criminal trials, right, we'll get juries, and that's going to make it really interesting. So,
yeah. All
can
right.
you
So,
imagine? Can you? I had a dream the other day, and it was that he won the presidency.
oh
Okay,
no,
yeah, yeah.
wrong
I had a
dream,
dream that
wrong
he
dream.
won the presidency, but that a jury had already been impaneled, right? And
Uh,
so when the election results came out, the jury had come to a decision like on November 4th or something, that the guy was guilty. And I thought, well, that would be a screamer.
Yeah.
So then all kinds of constitutional issues come up. The guy won the election, but is he fit to serve because he's a felon, right? And then they're gonna have to decide that. He's actually adjudicated as a felon, and then he's gonna say, I'm gonna appeal that. Yeah, I'm gonna appeal it. I'm gonna appeal it to the court, and the court is going to be following in Justice Thomas and Alito's path, and they're going to let him go, so he can get away with everyone. Can you imagine that?
Oh, that's not a dream scenario. That's the nightmare scenario.
Yeah, it's a nightmare scenario,
Yeah.
and that's what really cracks me up about Biden soft pedaling on expanding the court. You know. So, are we
Right.
going to talk about Cannon?
Cannon.
Who's Cannon?
I you know not well. We could talk about Cannon. I mean, the documents case.
Yes.
Yeah. What did she do? She sort of dinged him a little bit, but she left open the pot. I mean, I forget what she did.
Well, she did two things. Let me see.
She did something to make it look like she's not totally in the bag with him. But then it just hastens or it adds to the delay, whatever she did.
Well, see,
The outcome is
what she did was one of the thing that caught my attention was she was asking both sides to present her with potential final arguments and directions to the jury.
oh
And I thought, what? Wait a minute. They haven't even selected a jury yet, right? They haven't started the trial yet, and then
so
she's asking for what the both sides are going to do in terms of their wish list for directions to the jury, right?
so what's up with Cannon? What's up with Cannon?
Well, that's obviously premature as hell. Okay,
Yeah.
because facts haven't been presented to the jury. I mean, why are you doing this in a manner that could bias,
Yeah.
right, jurors? You're
Well,
gonna you're
because
gonna
she
ask them for
wants.
that, and then you're gonna talk about it to the public. You're gonna say, "Well, this is what they presented," for their directions to the jury, and you're gonna do that in advance of the choice of a jury. So my position is, you got to get rid of her, man.
Yeah, she just doesn't know what she's doing. Where'd she
Oh,
go?
I think she doesn't know what she's doing,
Oh,
because
she's just trying to.
some of the things that she's doing are not appealable.
Oh,
You can't appeal them. And so I think she knows what she's doing. She's messing around with all of this stuff. What do the Republican legislators do? They go right over the edge, just enough so that their actions are questionable, okay, and susceptible to attack, but not so severe, right, that people actually move on it. And
well,
so
so
that has been the error of the Democrats. They
you got.
think all you got to do is show that they violated the principle and the black letter of the law, and then people will understand that. Not good enough. You got to throw the guys in jail. You got to get them kicked out of the Congress. You know,
Well, or you got to get. Well, how do you get Cannon kicked off the case? That's the question.
bias. You just say that it's bias and incompetence. That the things that
Incompetent.
she's doing are incredibly incompetent, and she's already got two strikes against her from the 11th Circuit, I think.
Yeah.
And so they're already in a mood to get rid of her. Believe me, the justices at the appellate level are looking at her and saying, "Who the hell?" And people, her former law clerks. I mean, she had clerks that were only supposed to be on for a year, right?
Mm.
And at least two of them quit about 6 to 7 months into their term.
Because
And
of her.
well,
Citing her.
because she took on this case when this case was assigned to her in June of 23.
Right. Right.
Okay, and so these people were saying that when they first started working for her, everything was fine. She was a taskmaster and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But she got your best work and all that. They were very complimentary. And then they left. And the answer was, when she took on this case, everything changed.
because she couldn't do it. She couldn't handle it. She was
She was saying things and doing things that they felt were going to be challengeable and that they felt would be questioned if they went up to the lower court. I just lost you. Are you there? Hello? I just lost Emil.
ah.
Okay.
I'm back.
Yeah, I wonder what happened. But
Something
anyway, yeah,
got
they left because they were finding her positions even after they did research for her very questionable, and they were right. I mean, that's when
erratic.
the 11th Circuit cracked on her twice, two times in a row. I mean, that's a bad sign, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, let's hope it
you want to
happens.
get rid of her. You want to get rid of her before she plays around with jury selection.
All right, let's hope it happens. Let's. I don't know if it will or not, but let's hope it happens. All right. So I didn't really want to come talking about Cannon because that happened like last week, right?
I don't. Well,
It was the last
yeah,
thing.
earlier.
I was going to hold my tongue on Robert Herr because I already think he's a waste of time.
Oh yeah, no,
Robert Herr's a waste of time.
yeah, you're beating the hell out of a dead horse.
Yeah. Well, but he was beating the hell out of an older president unfairly, and then try to play both sides. I think Robert Herr's going to run for office someday. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's his plan. I think he says not. Some people think, oh, he wants to be a judge appointed by Trump. He said not. I think he wants to run for office. All right, a couple other things, Dan. So we've missed each other. A lot of I was doing my show stuff. I was in L.A. on March 19th. I was playing a little club called Three Clubs, right there on Vine, right next to the Wild Card Gym, Freddie Roach's Wild Card Gym. And so I went into the parking lot and I walked around and just waited for someone to say, "Hey, Manny." That's for Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one came up to me and said, "Hey, Manny."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, not enough of a resemblance there. You're.
but it's if I had one of these, are you kidding me? Come on.
You're gonna put a task. You're gonna put a task. Okay.
Hello, Manong, it's me, Manny Pacquiao, I'll Pacquiao.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe.
I got it all wrong. Maybe it was like,
Yeah. The to
Manong,
the
Manong, it's me, money. Oh, left hand money, left-handed money. So there I was at the Wild Card Gym, and I thought, oh, this is a wild card. This is like a shrine. When I liked Pacquiao, I don't like him anymore. I mean, because he was a
Everybody
homophobe.
wanted to like Pacquiao because he was a hero. He was a winner. Okay. Then he opened his mouth.
Yeah,
Right.
but he's.
And,
But
and
now the new Pacquiao is Maria Ressa. Maria Ressa is the new Pacquiao.
well, it may be new to it may be new to the general public, and it may be new, but to Filipinos in the Philippines, she ain't new. I mean,
Oh no, she's not new.
and in you know, I think about 30 years ago, I was already following her, and then she left the Philippines and was doing international journalism. And
Yeah,
not just in Asia. She was doing international journalism, sometimes going to other continents, and then for a while, because she wasn't in Philippine news, not the newspaper, but just in the Philippine news media generally.
yeah,
I thought,
yeah.
what happened to her? I was wondering what the hell happened to her, and then all of a sudden, Raptor came out, right? And
Rapper.
yeah,
Well, yeah, that's the thing. She got her big break at CNN, and
yeah,
Philippines and did other stories, but she is a 1.5, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I think she was born there, immigrated here,
yeah,
grew up here.
yeah.
I mean,
Went to school.
yeah, 1.5s are a little different. They're like our parents in a way, right?
They're
We're
like
the
our parents. Yeah, well, they carry an understanding of Philippine culture,
right.
and
That's
and
different
and
from us.
yes, and
I mean,
so
we have an American's understanding.
yeah, we have an American perspective on it. Sometimes it's good. It depends on where you went to school and whether or not they had ethnic studies there, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And most schools, even if they have ethnic studies, barely pay attention to Asians, and when they do, it's East Asians,
Yeah,
right?
well, especially our time, right?
Yeah,
Especially our time when there was like for example, no ethnic studies at Harvard, no Filipino studies at Harvard. This is something that's true, and I mentioned Maria Ressa now because Maria Ressa was just announced as the commencement speaker at Harvard
right.
this year, so she's going to be the commencement speaker, which is it's good for
It's
her.
an interesting choice. I think it's good for the Philippines and it's good for Filipinos.
Also,
Wherever they are in the world.
co-winner of the Nobel. I mean, so
Yep.
she's got cred, and it's also at a time when, as I say in my show, um, the world loves strongmen, and she spent most of her time fighting off strongmen.
Yeah,
And
dangerously so.
yeah,
Really
and,
risky.
yeah, and that's so my hats off to her. She was able to do what few reporters, journalists would like to do, and that is be entrepreneurial with her work. And Rappler has really shown that it could be a thing in the Philippines, a voice for the people there. And she she was jailed. She was
She was
treated.
tried several times, charged and tried several times.
Yeah, I mean, so you can report you can report on things, on dangerous things, and hope the world gets it. But you're doing something right when
when they come
you're
after you.
reporting. Yeah,
Yeah, when
report.
they come after you.
Yeah, the reporting is so in depth and so good that they want to do away with you. And so, hats off to her. I've never met her. I know she's one of the New Jersey Filipinos. The Filipinos
Yeah.
came to the East Coast, and she's also I don't know maybe 15, 20 years younger. She's a generation younger, but but she has become a model not just for American journalists. Increasingly hard to do the kind of work she does, but she's a model for international journalists everywhere. You know, truth seekers, truth tellers, and so I wasn't kidding when I said she's sort of like uh, she's like the new Pacquiao. You know, a Filipino who everyone looks to because by winning the Nobel, that's like winning a heavyweight championship or better.
Yeah, well, it was a
And
shared, right, award, right?
right, it was right, but still, everyone thought when Manny Pacquiao was like making his rise, everyone looked to him, and then I think it was the Mayweather fight that really, and
Yeah,
then the homophobic remarks that kind of like
yeah,
that
yeah.
did it for me. And so anyway, hey, so I went to LA. I did my show, did my act, or not my. I do 5 minutes, but it's just a warm up to the 1 hour that I do. That I'm, this Emil Amok, lost NPR host, wily Filipino, vegan trans dad. The show I'm doing in New York, April 5th, 8th, 13th, 19th, and 21st at Under St. Mark's Theater. Hey, so did you recall, or do you recall that Steve Martin article, In Search of the Wily Filipino? You remember that?
Wow. I remember the title. I don't remember the content, man.
Yeah, I was the same way. I finally got a hold of a copy about a couple years ago. And it's interesting. I remember first reading it in 1998 when it was published in the New Yorker and being very upset because I thought, oh, this is kind of racist against, toward Philly. Wiley is not positive, it's negative generally. And I thought it was a shot at Filipinos that I didn't like, I didn't appreciate. And I think I might have said it publicly about Steve Martin. But then I actually reread the article, not in 1998, but I read it like a couple years ago, again, once I got it. And I thought, man, this is funny. Well, what's wrong with me? Is it the time? Is it because more Filipino images are out there? Is it because I was less sensitive? What do you think? I mean, because I found it to be funny and actually not unsympathetic toward Filipinos, but I was of I'm going to say a woke mindset that I wouldn't have it. I would not, this is not good. It shouldn't be done. And maybe it also coincided when I was doing more performance and I was saying, hey, I was kind of unfair to Steve Martin. So
Yeah. I just reread it just now while you were talking.
yeah,
And it is funny.
it is funny. Yeah, but
And
an acupuncturist, a Filipino acupuncturist.
yeah, that happens. But I thought once I read Acupuncturist, I thought that he would get into hands-on healing, right?
Yeah, hey,
Alboradio,
yeah,
right? But he didn't do that. So I
yeah.
don't. I think Steve's a little, let's say, restrictedly informed
Well,
about Filipino culture.
he was top level. He was just like at surface level.
Yeah, there
But
you go.
but in 1998, I felt that we don't know enough about this stuff, and it was like I don't think we were fair game to be poked fun at, and so that I reacted that way. And now we got Joe Coy being poked fun at. We got people know Filipino. Generally, they know Marcos. Well, they knew Marcos in the 90s as well. I was just more sensitive back then. Now I'm less sensitive. And that's why
I think you're wily.
I think I'm not just I think I'm Willie. I'm Willie Filipino. Willie, Manong Willie. So anyway, so that's why it's my homage to Steve Martin after I realized, hey, he was really being funny. Wily Filipino. Well, we had to be wily Filipinos in the 30s. We had to.
Yeah. Well, and they were not only wily, they were gutsy, they were adventurous.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a self-selected group, right? The earliest Manongs.
Yeah, it was, to leave the Philippines, to leave
That's
the
right.
comfort of your barrio, being
Yeah.
dirt poor, no shoes, to think that you can go to America and maybe meet Mae West.
Yeah. Well,
We could say the Filipinos.
and that actually happened.
I
He w-
know.
yeah. I remember when I was told that story. I was a little kid, and they would tell me that this boxer, became the so-called chauffeur for Mae West.
The
The first
first
thing
of a
he would
lot.
do is ask me if I knew who Mae West was, and a lot of the old black and white movies, with Abbott and Costello and
W.C. Fields.
W.C. Fields,
Yeah.
and that those were on the TV all the time. So if you were sick at home and they had Dialing for Dollars, you knew who Mae West was, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd say, yeah, I know who that is, and then they'd talk about, well, he was more than a chauffeur. He actually had, and I said, a Filipino has a relationship with a big time movie star like that, and and then later on when I became a teenager, they would tell me these jokes, storylines that were, let's just say, racial, full of racial stereotypes, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, look, Mae West loved Filipino guys. She
Yeah,
hired them. She hired Filipino boxers
right,
on a regular basis, and
right,
she put them in movies. She gave them breaks. They were drivers or bodyguards, and it's because her father was a boxer himself.
right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so she related to the Filipino boxer and their smooth skin and their. She was small. Mae West was not a big woman.
No, well, she was big, sort of sideways.
Yeah, yeah, that big. Yeah,
She's
yeah,
she's she was what we call thick.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she was thick.
She was my little chickadee. That's what, right?
Yeah,
And she was the why don't you come up and see me sometime?
that was her line. Oh, and don't forget, is that a banana in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Oh, did she? Was that her line?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that was that a banana.
I'm
Well,
gonna check that out. Wait. Let's verify whether or not
you
she
sure it was?
actually
You
said
sure it
that.
was banana? It wasn't mango. Is that a mango in your pocket? Or you happy to see- because it could just be blunt force is actually. No, I don't. Did she say banana in your pocket? Well, I defer to the researcher, the Mr. JD.
I don't know,
Yeah,
but it was an old joke.
yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, look, I bring up Wiley Filipino. It goes to Mae West. It goes to Steve Martin. Anyway, all that is part of my show. Emil Amok, lost NPR host. I talk about being a lost NPR host. Wiley Filipino. I talk about a Wiley Filipino. Vegan trans dad. I talk about being a vegan trans dad. What? Emil? Vegan trans. Explain that. I explained it in the show. Get your tickets at frigid.nyc. Frigid, Frigid. Of course, you know how to spell it. Frigid.nyc. Look for Emil Amok, Lost NPR host. Get your tickets April 5th, 8th, 13th, 19th, and 21st under St. Mark's Theater, Lower East. No, not the Lower East Side. It's a cut, a slightly cut above the. It is the Lower East Side, but they call it the East Village.
Okay.
It's a cool, and there's a
Online,
Filipino restaurant.
I
There's a
have.
Filipino restaurant there.
This is okay. Yeah, I wish I could go, but is that a gun in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Is attributed to Mae West.
Is that a gun in
Gun
your
in your pocket. Yeah. So others say that she used things alternately in different movies, but I swear to God, I was watching a movie with Cary Grant in it.
Yeah, she's got to have it is what it's called. That's the
With Mae West. Yeah.
Cary Grant, Mae West. She's got to have it,
And I'm pretty sure she says banana in that one. But anyway,
that's
cool.
the line. That's the line where she says, "Why don't you come up and see me?
See me sometime." That's right. Yeah.
See me? You want to see me? I go see me with you. See me. I go see me.
But anyway, I gave quite a bit of skeptical reaction. When the old timers would tell me that.
Yeah.
And then.
And then you saw it.
Well, somebody was doing research on boxers.
Yeah.
And I think it was Peter Baccio.
Yeah.
Before I actually knew him.
Yeah.
But somebody did a pretty low scale. The quality wasn't there, but it was an early black and white interview done by, I think it was Corky Pasquil, who Mona's brother.
Oh yeah. Well, the whole thing about Mae West, she had the bolo puncher guy.
Yeah.
The guy Seferino Garcia.
Yeah.
The middleweight champ who was Joe Palooka. She had all the championship Filipino boxers. He had the bolo punch. There's another guy. who is sometimes credited with having starting the bullet punch. But Seferino Garcia was the middleweight champion in New York City. That's where he fought. Seferino Garcia.
Severino Garcia, the Bolo Punch. Yep.
Bullet punch, yeah. So, so Dan, that's so my show is an amalgam of Emil Amok monologues of the past, and you've seen some Amok monologues at various stages, and
Yes.
I dare say that they're better now. They're better now. They're better now. They're still
Well,
an out.
yeah. Well, so when's the next Bay Area appearance?
The
Or
next
yeah.
Bay Area appearance, possibly, I don't know, possibly September. September, maybe. I know that's a long ways, but April in New York, maybe Orlando in May, maybe in early May. Maybe I'll do a bit. I'll find a room. I'll do something. I'll do something. I'll do something. Hey, listen, Dan. One last thing. We're gonna wrap up. What about? Are you an NCAA guy? Are you crazy? Do you go crazy about the?
I am not a crazy bracketer.
Yeah, I mean, I will go crazier. Maybe Sweet 16, maybe, but I always am happy to see St. Mary's College in there. They're playing tonight, and I taught at St. Mary's College for about 9 semesters, and enjoyed my time there working with the Christian Brothers, and in journalism communications. But I don't know. They had a lot of they bring in a lot of Australian basketball players. I don't know how good their team is this year, but maybe they'll make a run into the second round. Let's see. St. Mary's College playing tonight. I think they're a fifth seed. Fifth seed.
Yeah, I'm. When I was a kid, one of the things that made me want to go to a Jesuit school was USF,
Ah,
and when I was really young,
yeah.
grammar school, and
USF.
USF, yeah, and they would be having it out with St. Mary's all the time.
Yeah, St.
It was
Mary's.
USF, St. Mary's, and Gonzaga.
Oh, hey, look, and don't forget the other Jesuit school, Santa Clara.
Yeah,
When
that's
Santa
right.
Clara and
That's
USF played, you were conflicted. You had to say, well, what's the devil doing?
true.
Because I think Santa Clara is a better school than USF, actually.
um, well, you're not going to get an argument from me, at least in terms of the the work product,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the Gonzalez brothers were both graduates. Theo Gonzalez and his brother Rudy
I know.
were both from Santa Clara.
That's why I mention it. I mention
Oh,
it
okay.
because, yeah, I mentioned because, you know, Theo, proud Bronco,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
proud
yeah.
Bronco, and it is a good school. It is a good school. All right, no more NCAA's. Seen any good movies? Did you see American Fiction?
No, not yet. I'm going to watch it.
You got to catch that because it is how race is. I mean, if you are, high-minded person of color and you want to reach the people, you say, oh, this is how I reach the people. I got to dumb it down.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And but he's a fiction writer, so he dumbs it down fictionally and learns a valuable lesson. Don't dumb it down.
Don't dumb it down.
Don't dumb it down.
You might have to start low,
Yeah.
but you shouldn't finish low.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, Dan, listen, I'm sorry that we haven't talked to each other in a couple of weeks. I'm glad that we
Well,
talked to
you've
each
been
other.
busy and you were not feeling well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I told you last week. Get some rest, man. And you
Yeah.
seem fine now. So
Yeah.
you're ready. You're ready for the next round. April's coming up fast. I can't
Yeah.
believe it. We're already, what is it, the 23rd today? Or
Yeah.
no,
20,
it's 20,
yeah,
uh,
22nd. Yeah.
22nd.
We're going to have to connect soon before I leave again. But listen, Dan, always good to say hi to you. This is one of the things they discovered in all those studies about screens and iPhones. that people go on their iPhones, they connect with people, and they actually see each other in person less.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I did it.
True.
I saw him. I talked to him already. Did you break bread? Well, I broke my bread on my side. He broke his bread.
Yeah.
I saw him with a drink on his side.
Yeah.
I didn't have
Yeah,
a drink on
I
my
always
side.
look forward to seeing you, especially when, it's tag team and we have both of our spouses with us,
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna
or,
do it.
or at least the two that know about each other.
Yeah. Well, that's helpful. That's helpful. So we got to do it again. We got to do it again soon.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
well, let's, pick a restaurant that's easy for you guys somewhere on the east side of the bay, as
Yeah.
long as it's not, within range of an Oakland freeway,
Yeah. And someplace that accessible by boat or hydroplane. Yeah. Yeah. We could do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's slow. Boat is slow.
All right.
Anyway,
All right, Dan.
okay.
There he goes, Dan Gonzalez, my friend, Dan
Thank
Gonzalez,
you. Adios. Adios, muchachos.
College of Ethics Studies, San Francisco State University, Professor Emeritus, Asian American Studies. We talk about the news because he knows about the news. He could talk about he could talk about adjudication. He could talk about all those things. And he knows about Mae West and the banana. He says, although it may have been a gun. It may have been a gun. All right. You can catch us on YouTube if you don't know already. YouTube.com/@EmilAmok1. In fact, if you're there, put in a message in the box and see if I answer. YouTube.com/@EmilAmok1. EMILAMOK1 on YouTube. On Facebook, FB.com/EmilGuillermo.media or just Emil Guillermo. I'm there. Put them like now. Put a message in the box if you want to ask a question or make a comment and see if it shows up. Sometimes it shows up, and maybe after the fact, if I see it, I'll comment. On X, formerly known as Twitter, @Emil Amok, EMILAMOK. You can catch it there. And something's wrong with my website, amok.com, but you can try emailing from the little box there. And that's how you get in touch with us. But we're here, generally speaking, Monday through Friday, recorded, live, recorded, trying to talk about things because this is our gym time. No, this is our time to talk and explore ideas. Do it with Professor Phil, Daniel Phil Gonzalez. Sometimes I just talk myself. So if you missed any or all or part of the show, go to youtube.com/@EmilAmok1 and check out show 670. Wow, this is 670. Yeah, Emil Amok's Takeout, 670. And, we call it Emil Amok's Takeout, subtitled WDAAAT, what does an Asian American think? Because they never ask. They never ask. And we call it the micro talk show of the AAPI and the AAXs. You know who you are. And all the rest of you don't have to be an AAPI. I read my columns at ALDEF, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. That's ALDEF, AALDEF.org/blog. There, I did all the plugs. I mean, Emil, you plug. Someone says, oh, you plug so much, Emil. You plug. Yeah, and I'm going to plug my show. The Frigid.NYC show. Got to check that out. And tickets are reasonably priced. Come see all of them. Everyone is a little bit different. You're part of a different audience. So the show's going to be a little different. Check it out. All right. We like to meditate. It's the reason things. Yeah, meditation. I blame it all on meditation. The metta approach, the loving kindness. It works. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Stay warm if you need to. Hey, I think it's going to get colder this weekend, they say. Have a great weekend. Repeat. Rinse. Repeat. Listen to the show again. Back on Monday. Till then.